Hi, welcome back to the Two Dudes Talking Motorcycles podcast. My name is Mitch. I am recovered.
And I am Gleb, and I am no longer by myself, and I feel so much better.
That was a rough sickness. So
yeah, dude, you sounded horrible.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wanted to listen to this.
No. So I tackled the last one myself. If you guys are interested in me talking about my drop. I didn't get hurt.
Oh, you made an episode by yourself? You know what? It's all you. I'll leave.
Okay, I'm just keeping all the $0 of revenue. Speaking of revenue, buy us a coffee at TDT Motorcycle at buymeacoffee.com/TDTmotorcycles to help out the podcast. And we're back, and we actually just realized that it's been pretty much a year since we had our first episode.
Yeah, by the time you guys will be seeing this, it's going to be in that weekend, like that 5-day range when we first recorded our first episode.
Yeah, so thank you all for listening and following and emailing us, which is pretty dope. We love seeing your emails come through.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean. I was just gonna say, I was I've been having a lot of fun this year with it. You know, it's been really awesome. But I think the coolest thing on top of the stuff that we've learned is just people talking to us and giving us advice. And
I absolutely love it. We love seeing your emails come through and just seeing what you have to say, sharing your motorcycle stories, what bikes you have, and things like that. So keep those coming, and feel free to email them at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com, and also follow us on social media. The podcast channel is at TDT Motorcycles on Instagram and Threads. I am at Gleb Lapham on Instagram.
I'm Meets to the Beach on Instagram. And then we do have what we've mentioned before. We have our TDT Motorcycles Instagram page as well.
Yep.
So
follow us on there. Send us messages. DM us. Give us shit. I don't know.
Yeah. We have.
Call us out.
We do have a lineup of a few cool things that we hope to do this next year, so that we're going into. So
yeah. So we're gonna, and tell your friends about the podcast. So, but let's jump into some news here. I had a pretty busy week. I don't know about you, but I didn't quite do enough research.
Well, I was gonna say, because from our first episode about the Honda Transalp, I think it's only appropriate that for the year we have some Honda news.
That's true. Actually, that's a very good segue.
It all comes full circle.
Full circle. So Honda has announced the new CB500X, which was my first bike, except now it's renamed the NX500. And they switched some stuff around, mainly a lot in the styling department. So it's got a new and improved headlight, and
it looks good.
Crash bars and everything like that. I didn't quite read through to see if the crash bars are stock or not. They might not be because they weren't stock on the previous ones. It does have show suspension, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's nice. 41 mil. Yeah.
Yep, 41 mil. And the other big thing is it's got a 5-inch TFT now, which I thought was pretty cool. The previous generation CB500X just had a
the LCD,
just a basic LCD screen, not a lot of information.
Watch.
Yeah. But here, it's got a full-on TFT, smartphone connectivity with Honda's RoadSync app, and plus updated controls to control and things like that, which I think is pretty awesome. I think it's awesome to see that on such more of an entry-level motorcycle. I think that's a very pretty cool thing to have.
Well, I think we're seeing it, but I know we've mentioned it in previous episodes too. That this is we're getting the quote unquote beginner bikes with more features and nicer tech on them. So we're just seeing everything just kind of take a step up as time moves on.
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome.
And I think we're just going to keep seeing that more as more expensive bikes get more and more advanced features that kind of slowly make their way down the line.
Yeah.
To as they become cheaper to produce, cheaper to manufacture, and there's an abundance of parts that they can start adding those onto smaller models. It also weighs lighter, so it's saving a total of 6.6 pounds shaved off the bike's mass, which is pretty impressive. Especially, the Honda's already a fairly light bike, so that's a pretty cool thing to see. It's got a new LED headlight, which I think looks so much better than what the Transalp has. It's kind of a more squared squared off triangle almost kind of look.
Well, it just seems to fit the rest of the bike with the fairings and everything else on there. So
I think agree.
I think they did a good job with this one.
Yeah, and I even like the silhouette of this one much more. It kind of almost gives off kind of almost like a rally bike vibe, kind of like the Ducati Desert X or the Tenere 700.
Yep.
The Yamaha Tenere 700. It's kind of had that very flat front in the front, and I think it actually suits the bike way more than what like how the Transalp looks with the like a more pointy front end.
Hopefully the new Transalp version 2 will look.
Yeah, I kind of hope they replace that headlight with this one because it's so much better looking.
Yeah.
And also Honda announced, this was kind of another bike we kind of talked about before, the Hornet. The previous one just looked kind of bland.
It was okay.
I don't think it was ugly. It was
there.
It was just kind of there. But they also came out with a redesign of that. So Hornet, the CB 1000R.
Yeah.
And it's got a pretty aggressive looking new front headlights, very pointy looking, especially from the side profile.
Are they calling this one the Hornet? I just was one.
Yeah, so CB 1000 Hornet. Yeah. Cool. So it has a really dope looking headlight. I think this is more of just like I don't know if it's like fully. I think it's quite a bit more than a styling upgrade. Yeah. That's what we were talking about here, though. Is just also has the 5-inch TFT dash and probably a similar one too.
Yeah,
but probably see on like the Transalp and Transalp and the CB, slipper assist clutch, Honda's traction control system,
and Showa suspension.
Yeah, Showa suspension, that. fully adjustable for rebound, preload damping. Pretty much all the good stuff. Makes 147 horsepower. And 73 pound-feet of torque, which is that's
pretty spicy.
Pretty spicy. Yeah. There's no word on the weight, but
but
like looks wise, I think that looks way better. Really nice. It looks way more aggressive. It has I really like how the silhouette here looks. Mm-hmm. It's like a nice little blend between kind of like modern sharp angle and kind of like very slick looking lines, and I really like that. Yeah. So props to Honda for kind of making something that doesn't look quite. I was
gonna say like they're doing
boring.
Something. Yeah, like looks like they're changing some things up like with the design. Hopefully, like that kind of trend sticks.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
And then Kawasaki unveiled their hybrid model.
Mm-hmm.
So Kawasaki Ninja 7 Hybrid, and I actually watched a reel on Instagram about this today. So it has several different riding modes, and one of them is actually purely electric. The range is super limited, but it just keeps it quiet, nice and quiet and things like that, which I thought was pretty interesting. But it also has just a standard hybrid mode where the hybrid engine like kicks in after you hit or the regular engine, the gas engine kicks in after you hit a certain speed. And then it has like a full like sport hybrid mode, which basically uses the hybrid engine to kind of compensate for where the gas engine is the weakest, and it uses that to compensate for that. Then just bolted to electric motor. It can be operated on its own or along with a gas engine. Combined peak horsepower of 68.5 horsepower, while the engine on its own is 58 horsepower. So a fairly decent. It'll still pack a punch. I mean, the bike.
And it's a 451cc.
451cc.
No, that's pretty nice for that size.
There is no clutch, so it's an automated manual transmission. So basically, kind of uses
automated manual transmission. Okay.
Yep. So it has a plus and minus buttons to kind of shift the gears, but there's no foot shifter. There's no clutch or anything like that. And you can operate in like a manual mode or an automatic mode. And this is kind of interesting because Honda also announced an e-clutch system, which basically replaces the
Honda-matic.
Honda-matic. So it doesn't replace the clutch or the manual transmission of a motorcycle, but it has the ability to actuate the clutch electronically, like the perfect timing. So it's almost like a quick shifter, but a bit more.
Yeah.
So you can shift without using the clutch at all. You can even get your bike started without the clutch.
Those sound pretty expensive.
Yeah, but the clutch is still present. This is actually going to be, I think this is, if I remember reading right, I think this is actually going to be one of the options on the new Hornet, or one of the newer bikes. So it's supposed to be like an option you can get on that. So it's, kind of part of their push to kind of, add a bit more, just different degrees of I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah. I mean, looking at some of the dates, because I haven't seen this one, checking on some of the dates, because
what basically it does is it just activates the clutch for you. So you can do a manual clutch like you normally do on any other motorcycle.
Yeah.
Or you can switch it to operate it for you, and it basically does it. But you still have a foot shift. You still have to shift the gears, but the clutch is actuated on its own. I think it's kind of one of those things that, and we've talked about this like way back when we talked about the like technology and motorcycling and things like that. And I think that's one of those things that kind of can help a lot with accessibility and things like that. So maybe your left hand isn't as like dexterous as as it used to be, or maybe you had like an injury or something, but you still want to ride, and it's one of those things that can kind of help you ride. And same goes with the hybrid, because that one it has an automated, like pretty much automated gearbox. Which I think is pretty cool.
We're seeing like some alternative fuel adjacent bike, or a fuel adjacent bike with the hybrid. I mean, it's still gas, but
it still uses gas and stuff. But I'm like curious to see how that technology kind of progresses down the road and how it kind of evolves over time, because going off like certain hybrid cars, there's a lot of potential of using like the electric motor to compensate for where the gas motor is the weakest. The electric takes over like acceleration and between shifts and things like that. You see that tech pop in a lot of like high end like supercars that are hybrid and stuff. They basically use the electric motor to get that like super fast off the line acceleration, but then the gas motor kicks in for like top speed and things like that. So that'd be interesting to see where that goes on the motorcycle. And Kawasaki's known for making some very fast and crazy bikes. So
and it was Kawasaki that we mentioned, right? They're trying to work on that hydrogen fuel.
That was dumb. So it was dumb, and I think a couple of other Japanese manufacturers that are kind of trying to piece that together to
find a way
to still have the feel of a internal combustion engine, but without the kind of like the negatives of it, the emissions and things like that.
So
shall we move on to our main topic?
So that's it for news, like what we were able to scrounge up here this week. And then to kind of break us into our main topic, it's actually from an email. Someone who's emailed us before. We've mentioned him throughout as he's brought us news of himself. So David, one of our listeners, he ended up getting a CF Moto 450 SS. Yes, an SS.
That's the sporty one, right?
Yeah, it's a sport bike one.
Yeah.
So he was just checking in with us. He's been loving it. He says it's a good time. And he says in his email here that I think we've all said, and I think anybody out there who's ridden, it's like I only really have one regret, and that is that I didn't wait and get a more powerful bike. And but as he says here, that's most people's low CC motor regrets. So
and some
eventually
people
you do grow out of them.
You do. Some people really like having that low CC because you can really rev them out without breaking laws and things like that. But if it's like your one and only bike and you're just starting out, you kind of like start to hit that limit of when you want more power.
Like I outgrew my 500 like really quick.
Oh yeah, same. Same with mine. As soon as I can go up a hill at 70 miles an hour, I was just like,
so,
I need a faster bike because American roads are very fast.
So, David, we feel you on that one on getting a small bike. But it's they're still fun. They're great. We're glad that you're having fun with it. Our main topic, however, is going to be having to do like with dealerships, and just the ins and outs of you as a customer, client,
Yeah, kind of like what to expect at a dealership and things to consider when you're like purchasing a motorcycle from a delership, like especially if it's like specific brand dealership.
And so David, as mentioned, I recently had a warranty issue with the bike. My clutch handle was moving and not making good contact, so I could not get it in gear. And then, however, CF Moto is going to replace the clutch perch and the switch at no cost,
which is awesome.
So that's going to go into buying new, used warranty stuff. Yep. The issue that he's had is the supply chain issue. It is a Chinese company. They are new to the States.
They are new,
as we've mentioned. So that's going to be something that I think is just good to consider when you're buying, what you're going to buy, who you're going to buy from. Just consider, by no means should it turn you off to like what you want.
Yeah.
Just it's just one of those things that you don't want to have to sneak up on you.
If it's a bike you like and you're kind of dead set on it, you're going to buy it regardless.
Right. Yeah. And
you should. Yeah. Buy whatever you want to ride, even if it's a Harley. Like, just kidding. We love our Harley riders. Even though they probably hate us at this point.
You need to talk to your friend to get us on this Harley.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely gonna try. We're definitely gonna ride a Harley next spring once the weather kind of. Yep. I'm so sorry.
He bumped first this time.
Once the weather shifts back to being rideable, because we're heading straight ahead into winter here.
Yep.
In Utah, and our riding days are numbered for the year. But yeah, like you were mentioning, you're going to get a bike that you want regardless. But some of the things that, when I was shopping for my Tiger or to upgrade from my Honda, for my CB, I shopped around with the, Honda Africa Twin, and I looked at the Tiger. Yeah. I also was looking at the BMW, the 850 GS, because I remember like Harrison had or Eurosport Utah had used one there on the lot that I was like just kind of curious about and things like that.
Yeah.
But I remember like at the Honda dealership, the sales guy kind of mentioned, the nice thing about Honda is that there's a dealership network. Like pretty much anywhere in the world, you're going to find a Honda delership because they are literally everywhere. From the richest country to the poorest country, you're going to find a Honda dealership and Honda parts.
Yep.
And you kind of see that if any of you are fans of adventure riding, you probably heard of Itchy Boots, and she's been riding on her Honda, and she's been able to, still not easily get parts, but get parts for her the CRF 300 rally, the bike that she was riding on and stuff. And so like you were saying with the CF Moto having supply chain issues, and that
was to be expected, I think, honestly.
Yeah. And that's a brand that's kind of like starting to make their way into the American market.
Yeah.
And like supply chain issues do exist. So if you're after a brand that's, even less well known, like a Moto Guzzi or, the Augusta, the MV Augusta.
And even in the States, like Moto Guzzi still is like not, it wouldn't stack up to like other, it depends where you live.
Yeah. It very much depends.
But that's just one thing I've heard, like, with like people having Moto Guzzis, that you got to find somebody who can work on them. You know, you're probably not going to find like a Moto Guzzi exclusive dealer.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Moto Guzzi though. There's like a dealership up near like Centerville, like near the freeway. I think I've seen their logo like on part. They have they have everybody's logo on there.
Yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember if I saw Moto Guzzi on there, but that'd be awesome if they got a local dealership around here.
I still want to ride one of those too, actually.
Yeah. I love their like engine configuration. I forgot
turn to the side.
And when it comes to kind of just dealer network and dealer availability and things like that, I don't think it should be a deterrent from you getting a brand that you want, but it's definitely something to consider about, like how easy is it going to be to get that bike maintained. Yeah. And I mean, obviously you can always find independent shops and things like that.
And in this day and age too, I mean, you can get anything online.
You can get anything online. Yeah.
You know,
but
and most good dealers or even mechanics, like they can find you a part as well too. So it's not like the end all be all, but it's just something, you know, it's like, hey, it might set you back. It might not.
it might be a little bit like trickier to find someone that like
Yeah.
knows that specific brand well. I mean, here in the States, like if you have a Harley, you're probably set because there's a Harley, like plenty of Harley dealers. There's just like
Harley, Honda.
yeah, Harley and Honda. But and like most Japanese manufacturers, probably like parts are very available. Parts are cheap. Their engines are fairly easy to work on. I don't know how easy Harleys are to work on.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I wanted to bet there's like a billion Harley mechanics in this area compared to like 3 Triumph ones that probably know they're like triple engines and things like that. But even then, like motorcycles, you know, I mean, the principles are all the same here and there. So if you know a mechanic or find a reputable one, then I think that's a pretty good benefit. If the bike you have does not have a wide dealership network.
And that's not to say that like if you have a bike and or from a dealership that does have a good network or setup or everything like there, I mean, you're still going to be expected for delays, like ordering a part. So it's really going to come down to manufacturer too. Like, are they putting out those parts?
Exactly.
You know, and things from there. And of course, like obviously a manufacturer is going to have parts, but it's just going to be a matter of how fast can they get it to you.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, I've had to order parts for my bike. You know, I'll take it to Eurosports Utah and they get it in for like, it'll be one issue or another. It's like, oh, it'll just be a week or 2 to get it here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you had to wait a while for your center stand, didn't you?
Yeah, because my first one it just came up all like covered in rusty powder.
And that was from Triumph.
That was from Triumph. That was directly from them. The dealership ordered it for me, but they just shipped it to my house. Yeah. And it was like super rusty. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know if it's just like surface rust or maybe there's something inside that's like, you know, wasn't properly welded or painted over. You
paid for it.
And I paid for it. I should expect a clean, clean looking, like shiny product. And
maybe like a paint chip here or there wouldn't matter, but rust, I mean, you know, it's on the bottom
it made me worried a bit.
Yeah.
So I took that back to the dealership, but that first one came pretty quick. But then the follow up, I had to wait maybe like a month or so for it to show up, just because. And this was like peak supply chain issues, like back in 2022, when everything started to be like extra slow and take extra forever because nobody had anything in stock, basically. So it's kind of a weird time. I think things are a little bit better now than they used to be. I see more Triumph parts in stock, but it's still something to consider, especially if you want an OEM part. They do run out of stock. Like they can run out of stock, especially if it's like a newer or more popular model.
Yeah,
you might be waiting a little bit longer,
especially if it's popular. Like if somebody needs something.
Yeah, well, like
or if it's like a popular item, maybe it's not like a mechanical item. Maybe it's just like a windscreen or a seat or something. You know that everybody wants,
or even a motorcycle.
Even the bike itself.
Because when I was buying my Tiger, I bought the Rally because there was no pros. The next pro is going to be in only like 3 months from when I bought mine. Yeah, and I didn't want to wait that long to get a new bike. And
I think.
But now, like I can walk into a dealership and there's like 5 pros just sitting in there, and so the issue's been kind of sorted out. But I feel like that's kind of like that weird time of the year, and it was spring, so people were buying more bikes, and I mean the Tiger is a pretty popular model, so
and well, coming spring, I mean that's just going to be how it goes. People are going to be buying bikes, you know, and a dealership, you know, like they're going to be ordering bikes as best they can if they're selling. Yeah. You know, but like, I know I've heard somebody mention like they were annoyed because they couldn't find the bike they wanted. And it's just like, and they were mad at the dealership that they were going through. I'm just like, and even then I was like, well, they can't just make a bike appear out of nowhere.
Yeah. And they got to keep the product moving. So if you're like, if you're not buying it at that moment, it's full. They're within their full right to sell it to someone else if you're like unsure. Yeah. And I mean, I've experienced this at car dealerships or motorcycle dealerships. They say like, you know, like, oh, you know, this is a very popular bike. If you don't buy it like soon, you know, it might be sold, and you just have to kind of live with that fact. You haven't put any money down. You haven't signed anything. You haven't like told them you're interested. Yep. And if someone buys it, then I mean, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to move the product, they sell it. Because I asked one of our friends who used to work at
a dealership
a dealership about like what happens like when the motorcycle is there, and he had some interesting things to share. And what he said was so essentially like the dealerships are kind of buying in a sort of a different way, not like me and you buy motorcycles, but they're kind of getting a motorcycle from the manufacturer, and they basically have to pay them for that motorcycle and bring it in. And the longer it sits on their lot, the longer it sits in the showroom, the more it costs, because they have to pay.
They're basically buying the bike at that point.
Yeah. And they basically have to like pay the manufacturer like for the amount of time it's sitting there, and the longer it's sitting there, the more it starts to lose money, which, you know, could potentially play into your advantage if it's a bike you've seen on their website for like months and it still hasn't moved.
Sitting there,
you might have a little bit more wiggle room negotiating like a lower price on that bike, but you know, there's a certain threshold they can work with. So it's but basically, like when the bike comes in, so this is what our friend mentioned. Essentially, when the bike comes in, it starts having a floor cost. So the bike is being purchased from the manufacturer by the dealership. If there's a surplus of inventory, then they will be forced to buy the bikes outright and sit on the investment longer. The other major challenge is that most bikes only have a 10 to 15% profit margin, which is that's why you see them, you know, push a lot of them extended warranties and their own accessories, you know, if you want to buy extra gear and things like that. Those are things that kind of help to, you know, make more of a profit. And that's any retail.
That's business.
That's any retail store.
Car dealerships do the same thing. You know,
we worked at Best Buy.
Yeah, we did.
They told us to sell Geek Squad with every damn thing we sold there.
Yeah, it was dumb. Well, and like, you know, because it's true, like the big products, like they don't have a lot of markup, you know, like an electronics store. I remember back in the day, they told us like if you're buying or someone's buying a TV, like the store's not going to really make anything on that.
Like a MacBook, they're making less than $100 off each one. It's all the accessories it's plans and things like that they sell.
So it's just how it goes, you know. But
so he mentioned, like, you know, the dealer, you know, there's the taxes and fees and things like that. And so you mentioned that anytime you come in negotiating, you know, like the dealer is the one that's kind of be losing money, but that's also kind of the nature of shopping at a dealership is that, you know, people negotiate. You're gonna try and negotiate, and they're gonna try to, you know, negotiate with you and things like that. There's some wiggle room, but it's not like, but yeah, dealerships aren't just.
They're not handing out bikes.
They're not handing out bikes, and I also don't feel like they're just trying to like rip as much money away as they can from you. There is a certain threshold they can stick with, and it really depends on the dealership too and the kind of bike you're buying. Like if it's a used bike or if it's a new bike that's been sitting there for a long time, like I said, there's probably a bit more wiggle room because they're losing money by keeping that bike there. But if it's a very popular model, don't expect to have the price lowered too much for you, because someone else will come in
they'll pick it up. I mean, look at the Tiger that you got too, right? I mean, like that. I mean, you got that. You technically bought that before it was like built, didn't you? Or like,
it was being assembled in the back of the in the back of the dealership. Like I bought it before it even like shipped there, essentially. And I remember like the guy that was selling it to me, he would like text me updates and be like, "There's your bike, like it's getting its handlebars on," and things like that. And if I said, like, if I came in that day and said like, look, I want some time to think about it and blah blah blah, that bike probably would have been gone within a week or so if I didn't like put a deposit down or anything like that.
It's out of there.
Yeah, it was out of there. It's like, okay, that guy's unsure, but this guy, he just came in, he's ready to buy. We're gonna sell it to him and just tell the other guy like, sorry, someone else came in and bought it.
Yeah,
like,
you didn't put a deposit down.
You didn't put a deposit down. You didn't like tell us they don't owe you genuinely interested. Yeah. Like unless you put a deposit down and they sold it, I'd be pretty upset.
Oh yeah, that'd be
different. But this was a way different situation.
But to be like, hey, we hold that really popular bike for me. You know, it's like I'm not ready to put a deposit down, but we just sit on it. Like that's not.
It's not gonna happen.
You know,
no.
So
like that Africa Twin I looked at before I bought my Tiger. Once I told them like I decided to go with the Tiger, that thing was sold like a couple of days after that. So even then it would have like I had to make a decision then, because otherwise I I would have been left with no bike.
Yeah.
With no new bike, at least.
So it's a double-edged coin, right? Like,
Yeah.
So it's like, you can, if you don't want to like deal with like, oh, I got to move fast and buy a bike before it's gone, then, buying in the spring's probably not the time for you.
No.
But, if you want to, so you want to take your time, fall, winter's a good time to buy, depending on like what's been on the floor for how long.
Yep. Also depending on where you live.
Yeah. And so it's, you just gotta take your pick and like,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's just some of the stuff that can happen with motorcycles that, until the car shortage with the pandemic stuff, like you didn't really see that with car dealerships, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I moved fast on my bike when I got my Scrambler. When I saw it was up there, I was like, oh, I gotta go. Someone's gonna snatch this at this price.
Oh yeah. That was a really good deal.
Yeah. And like back then that was 2020. Yeah, that was 20. Yeah, it was like, or technically it's 2021 because it's January.
Yeah.
December 2020, January 2021. No, I went there. Like I raced there after work and just like looked at it. I sat on it. The weather was bad the first time I saw it. It's like I'm coming back to ride this. Like,
yeah.
I rode in freezing cold. They appraised my my Rebel and everything, and we just got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And I did put a deposit down because I wanted to give it like a little bit of time. So I remember I did put a little deposit down on there, and I think before I get into the rest of that, I think it'd be a good time to bring up like new versus used. Like if you're going to a dealership, picking out what you want. Personally, I've had some just god awful luck with used cars throughout my entire life. And so also in 2021, my used car decided to shit out on me.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so I bought a new car because I was fed up.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been driving, it's just been one mechanical surprise. So,
that's where I'm getting at with my two cars right now.
Yeah.
One of them I barely even drive.
Yeah.
Because it eats gas like there's no tomorrow. And the Camry's just old, but that thing will outlive us.
Yeah, right. Well, and like, so
But it's just old.
Yeah, that's just old. And so I bought a new car. And that's why I bought a brand new first bike. I think looking back, it is entirely up to you and your situation, but I don't think buying your first bike brand new, unless there's like something specific about that, was necessarily very beneficial. Like for the most part, it can be. Like with David's bike, he's got this warranty on it. It's covered.
Yeah, which is really nice, and that's the benefit. Nice benefit about buying new is that you do get the warranty. You get the manufacturer warranty. Some bikes are better than others on their warranty.
Yeah.
Like warranty period and things like that.
The dealership, the manufacturer's warranties. Yeah.
But it is something that that's there.
It's a nice plus.
It's a very nice plus to have. Like I haven't had to use mine yet, and hopefully I won't have to. But I feel good knowing that it's still there for another
I don't know if
few thousand miles.
Yeah, I don't know if this would have fallen under the manufacturer warranty, but with my Honda, I didn't have it long enough to to get new tires on it.
Yeah,
but I took it in for an oil change, and they noticed there was like a warp in the tire.
Oh, I feel like that's something that would definitely.
And they said they came out, hey, sorry it's taken so long. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
And they explained it to me. So we're just gonna fit you for some new tires.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, new bikes. That's nice. No additional cost for me.
Yeah. I think that's really awesome, especially for a new bike. You kind of expect that.
Yeah.
You kind of have like a higher expectation or a higher standard. And if you find those kind of defects within the first few months of ownership or a year of ownership and things like that, it's like, well, I don't feel like that should be happening yet on this bike, especially being brand new. I was kind of the opposite for you. My first bike was used, but my second one was brand new. And it felt kind of nice being like the only owner of the new bike, because really I'm just like, okay, this is like pure and clean, 0 miles, nothing's on there. So it's kind of a good feeling. But also like, I don't think there was like that big of a benefit minus the warranty to buying brand new. But if it's a popular model, then you're most likely going to be buying brand new because the used ones will get snatched up
and the
pretty quick.
On a used one.
Or the used ones will be like close to price as a brand new one. And if it's between that, I'll probably just get the new one just so I can have the warranty.
Well, I don't know. I haven't looked recently, but like the Yamaha Tenere 700, I mean, those ones used, they're selling more than new.
It's because they're impossible to find.
Yeah, and they're impossible to find. Because I mean, they're
very
good
popular
bikes.
bike. Yeah, very good bikes and super popular. The other thing to consider with
go ahead. I was going to finish.
Okay.
Yeah, but
the other thing to consider when buying new is the break-in period.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to pay for that, unless apparently if you get a BMW and they just include that in the price according to their recent.
I mean, are you
press
really
release.
saving money with buying a BMW at that price tag? So like,
Depends. Are you a dentist or not? Yeah. But yeah, that's something to consider, is that they usually have like that break-in period within the first like 500 to 1,000 miles where you have to go get the oil change. And that one I do recommend, probably like, I think that's like the only like oil changer, like regular maintenance I recommend going to a dealership to do, because they not only change your oil, they check to make sure all the cables are good. They check to make sure all the bolts are tightened, because they assemble the bike,
right?
So they basically go through it, make sure it's all checks out and it's all working and connected as intended. But then after that, like, I just do my own oil changes because I don't want to go pay.
It's expensive now.
Yeah, I don't want to go pay a dealership to do it.
Plus the wait.
And schedule an appointment, waiting, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to deal with that, so I'd rather just change the oil myself.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, so that's another thing. I didn't even think of like the break-in period and everything from there. But yeah, and so like you get a new bike, you obviously get, like, it comes with its standard warranty there, and a dealership typically will offer an extended warranty, and that's a buyer's choice from there.
Buyer's choice. And I think that's one of those things where, because it's a nice profit maker for them, they some of them can get a little pushy on that, constantly bring it up. I mean, things like that. Just like you go to a car dealership. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and they start to tack on like, here's your clear bra, here's your clear coat paint, here's your it's rock like, chip coverage and things like that. Like, it's funny. Can I not?
Yeah, well, it's like at a car dealership. Like when I bought my new car, they were tacking on all that stuff. I'm just like, no, I don't want it. It's like, oh well, you kind of have to. Like, nah, I really don't. I don't. It's not on the car.
Yep.
You don't have to take anything off or uninstall anything. No. I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
and it's like going to war. Like you're having peace negotiations
because
with a car dealership.
I had the same experience at the Honda dealership where I was looking at the Africa Twin.
Oh, really?
Because I, got a quote from them. They quoted my trade-in. They quoted me the new bike and how much it would be, and they had this like, I don't remember how much extra it cost, but it was a decent amount for this, like, I don't know, kind of. I don't even know what they called it. It was kind of like their own in-house like repair or some kind of coverage.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't warranty because they don't like cover repairs, but it was some kind of their own thing. But one of the things included in it was like a battery replacement. Like, in the next 2 years, I'm just like, okay, that battery probably will last longer than 2 years.
And if it doesn't, that's going to be cheaper than
it's going to be cheaper than paying for that.
Yeah.
Because motorcycle batteries are teeny.
Right.
And like, I'm like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
They're like, well, it's something we offer with every product. I'm like, not with this one, you're not, because that's not something I'm ever going to use.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay for something that I'm not going to use.
Yeah. So, there's like some of that stuff too. And, they obviously they're going to do their job. They're going to like, they're going to offer it to you and try and sell you to it.
Yep.
When I bought my used bike, my Scrambler that I have now, because I had such bad luck with used vehicles in the past, I knew I wanted this bike. This bike. They offered the extended warranty. And it was, it was a good chunk of change on there, but it was good. It's good for 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
It's still covered.
Yeah,
and like,
that's awesome.
And that little warranty is also like helped me out twice.
Yeah. So you kind of get your money's worth out of it.
Yeah. So there is a benefit, if you're buying used too. Yeah. Like an extended warranty, like it's just at your own choice. I would think, and I think your friend, our friend here mentioned too, is just like, like with extended warranties, like that's something to really consider if you plan on keeping the bike, which I did. Like I'm keeping that Scrambler is not leaving my ownership until I'm dead or it's dead. So,
and it's a very nice bike to keep for the rest of your
life. So it is just going to come down to like your own person. We're not financial advisors or lawyers. No. We're not going to tell you yes or no. And like
just something to consider.
It's something to keep in mind and just know like they are. A motorcycle dealership is different than a car dealership, but you're going to have a lot of similarities in the selling process. And it can be good, especially like with some bikes. Like you get some really nice performing bikes, but maybe their reliability isn't quite there.
Yeah.
And so having that extended warranty beyond that, especially if it's like a really big high end bike.
Yeah,
you know, like
it might be a nice peace of mind if you're the kind
especially
of person that
if you're like
likes that.
Yeah, it's like this is a long term bike. You know, like, and I think I don't think any vehicle is ever an investment. It's gonna be a cost.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You don't buy a car or like a bike to or a boat to be an investment, right?
No.
Like typically.
That's a very special, rare car.
Yeah, exactly.
Like very certain cars, but it's definitely not something you should rely on and think is going to go up in value. Also, if you're planning on selling your bike and adding accessories to it, does not add value.
It doesn't. No,
it kind of really doesn't. You can maybe throw in some extras, maybe eke out a few more dollars, but your custom exhaust or custom not fenders. What am I thinking of, Mitch?
Custom
fairings. Your custom fairings and things like that are not
your
going to
winglets.
Your winglets. They're not going to really raise the price all that much.
I mean, like in a universe where I would sell my bike, like, you know, that windscreen I have on my Scrambler, if you don't know, has like Triumph made their own little touring screen for it. And so that that cost me like 200 something bucks. You know? That's not. I can't tack that on.
No,
you know,
and most people won't like.
Not gonna care.
Well, yeah, like maybe I don't want that, so like, I'm not gonna pay extra for it.
Like
it's just not something you can expect people to pay for. I mean, you can try, and certainly it doesn't hurt. Yeah. But I think the better thing would just be like price your bike a little bit higher, and then just to negotiate down.
You can do that too, you know. But then you gotta get into like the haggling and everything from there.
Yeah.
You know, but so I haven't bought a private part. I haven't done a private party sale for a bike yet.
I haven't either.
I might if the bike's good enough. You know, if
I would consider it, but if it's like, it'll have to be like cheap enough where I can just pay straight up cash. Like I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be something I'm gonna like go to the bank for to try and take out a loan or anything like that. Which actually kind of reminds me of one point I wanted to bring up. There's kind of like, I feel like there's a certain sweet spot for used bikes though, and that's when they're not used for too long. So somebody bought a bike, decided it wasn't for them, traded in for something else, and the bike only has like 1,000 miles on it. It's past the break-in period, so somebody else already paid for that. But it's still under manufacturer warranty because the warranty isn't tied to the owner, it's tied to the bike itself. Right. And if it's in good condition, you can save a good chunk of money depending on the bike.
I don't know. I feel like 1,000 miles is still like, it's basically a new bike.
That's 100%.
So like, that's like, I mean, mine had like 4,600 miles on it.
Yeah, and that's still
nothing.
Still pretty new.
Yeah.
My first Honda, it was a 2019, so it was a year old when I bought it. 1,500 miles.
That's
basically a brand new bike.
Yeah.
And there was no changes between the 2019 and 2020 model. Yeah. Other than like a color scheme. So there was no reason to buy like exactly brand new. So, and I saved a whole lot of money compared to buying new, and that was kind of one of those things where if you find that little sweet spot where the bike is,
it's a done deal.
Yeah, depending on the type of model though, because like you said, the Teneres are like impossible to find. Yeah. And right now, like then the market kind of like, you know, like last year, with the way the market was, it was like used bikes were as much as new ones, same kind of used cars right now. Yeah. But it's something to think about, and something kind of like poke around, especially if you're trying to like save some money but still want a certain motorcycle.
And I think too, like, you know, if you take into like the bike's age and year, like it's not even necessarily like about the mileage necessarily, it's more about like the maintenance history.
That's true.
And that's one nice thing buying used from a dealership too, is that, you know, typically you can get that history.
Yeah,
you know,
that is a very good point versus private party. If you are buying for private party, make sure you get it checked out. If possible, if you have like,
but that's just more time that you got to take out of your own.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like,
I mean, it's all at your own risk. You don't have the same protections buying from a private party. And our friend that used to work at the dealership actually did mention that he personally recommends like, you know, just buying used. He's a big proponent of that because it kind of saves you just a lot on the cost and things like that. Yeah. But also if it's a very specific model you're after and you can't find it used, then
I was trying to make up my mind of how I sit on it. So I bought my first bike new. It did cost more, obviously, with there's the markup and like the fees and everything attached to it, you know, buying it new. but I gotta say it was pretty cool getting a bike delivered to me with 0 miles on it.
That is actually
they
cool.
dropped it off to my house.
That is actually pretty cool.
So it was a really cool feeling, and it was your first bike, 0 miles.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Nice.
Looking back for how much I spent for the bike versus like what I traded it in for, I mean that was a loss for me.
Yeah,
but again, at the same time, I got like the bike I wanted since I saw it.
Yep.
So.
For me, it worked out very well because I traded my bike in for only $900 less than what I bought it for.
Yeah,
so it was like
well, that was a good year.
That was a very good year for used bikes.
Because
because it was impossible to find
everywhere.
them. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think they sold it for like a few grand more than what I traded in for. I'm just like, I probably could have gotten that if I decided to go through the hassle of selling myself, but I did not want to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I told you too. It's funny too. Is like if you I guess whether you sell your bike private party or to trade it in or whatever you're doing with it, it's funny. I've seen both of our old bikes on the road.
Oh yeah, you have.
Yeah,
huh.
And I could tell mine because I had a blue Honda Rebel and I bought a brown seat separate for it.
Yeah,
like a nice like matte blue with a brown seat.
Yeah,
and then I saw your CB, your old CB with the because they had that really tall screen and like the scuff.
Yeah, I had a couple of scuff marks on the luggage on the handholds in the back. Okay, that's funny.
I know, right?
That's funny that you saw both of those bikes. I wonder what they're up to now. Do you think they're having a nice time?
I mean, they're on a motorcycle, so
no,
they gotta
the motorcycles, not the people.
Yeah, probably.
I hope nobody dropped my old bike. It's special. It still holds a special place in my heart.
You dropped it?
No. I hope whoever has it now hasn't dropped it.
Oh yeah.
No, I've never dropped it.
Yeah, I didn't ever drop mine either. So
like my current bike, the more expensive one that I did manage to drop.
So,
so I feel like there was like one other big thing we learned. Oh, the one other thing is, I'm trying to think if our friend here mentioned it or not, but new models pretty much come out every year.
Yeah,
they get announced like every year or twice a year, depending on the manufacturer and things like that. And that's also another good time to kind of keep an eye out because previous year models start to go on sale because they're going to try to want to move that out to make room for the new models. So that's why, like you mentioned, buying it in the fall or just like fall or winter,
just time your purchase
might be a good time to buy versus like spring when everybody decides to get a motorcycle. And the other thing is the size of the dealership also kind of matters. Certain dealerships are bigger, they have a bigger revenue stream, they can afford to have that much larger inventory, right? Versus like a smaller dealership which may have limited floor space. They don't have as much money to like purchase the bikes to keep on that floor space and things like that.
Yeah, so
that's another thing that can kind of affect availability of different bikes and the parts and stuff from not parts but the bikes themselves.
So that's just like basically that was just what I wanted to say actually. Was that and I think it'd just be a good this episode's a good chance for us to kind of like we're able to talk to somebody who's worked in the industry and just kind of get like a look at the other side of things. It's like because the places that they are providing a service and and like they fixed my bike. Well, they put my tires on because I don't want to do that. So I don't want to learn. So,
I mean, some things, oil change and things like that, I can do. But
now. They've done most of mine. I did one last year with Emerson.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just start doing it myself. But like when I was going to say with that extended warranty issue, it was like within the first like 2 weeks of having the bike used.
Oh yeah.
Used.
Yeah.
I was like, oh crap! Like here we go again.
Issue with that Bluetooth, or not the Bluetooth module, but the ECU.
Yeah.
Like I do remember that.
The computer basically went out, and so it wouldn't go. There was no traction control, no ABS, no the lean sensitive corrections or what it does. So kind of a big issue, especially because it was still a lot of money. I bought it, and that's a piece on the bike that should be working toward the value of it. So. But no, it was not a problem at all. It's like, and honestly, I think because it happened so soon, like I think that would just go out and fall under a customer service thing.
It probably would have to at least get that looked at and things.
It's like, hey, I just bought this, like, and it's just out.
Yeah, but that's also like the kind of the risk you take with a used.
Yeah, no, it is, and that's the thing too.
Especially if it's used to the point where the warranty is no longer like applicable or expired, or if it just says like as is, because then at that point it's kind of like you're kind of SOL if something does happen.
I will say though, speaking of new bikes, like or buying not a new model bike, but there is a new bike I really want to get at Eurosports. It's that T120 Distinguished Gentleman's Edition.
Oh yeah, that was a beautiful looking. Also, Triumph's new like their Stealth series.
Oh yeah,
kind of like those dark
colors.
Yeah, kind of like this gradient from like black to color.
Yeah,
just beautiful looking bikes, and that's one of those things that would like probably like convince me to buy a new bike versus a used one. Is those like little special edition ones. Very dependent on the bike. Would I pay that for a Tiger? Probably not.
Yeah.
Bonneville, very tempting because
I don't
that
have
is
one.
a very pretty bike.
Yeah.
The Tiger, I bought it with the intention of riding it off road, taking it on adventures. It's gonna get scuffed. It's gonna get dinked. It's gonna get dirty. I don't want that to happen to like something like a Bonneville because that's too pretty of a bike to mess up.
Yeah. So, I think.
Oh.
I was gonna say. I just think that my bottom line for new versus used is like if you're gonna keep the bike for a long time, and like then I'll buy new again for that purpose. But like for a first bike, having been a new rider, my first bike being brand new with how short I kept it.
Yeah.
I think you're very well suited to look at used bikes.
I definitely agree.
But in David's case, where he bought a bike from a dealer that's brand new to the U.S.
That's true.
So, new models and everything from there. I think he did a good call with that because he's having some issues with something new to the States.
You can also have issues with any brand, even Honda.
Yeah. So.
Can you believe that?
I think.
No, you can fill them up with vegetable oil and they'll run for 3 years for their life, till the end of the universe. The one other thing is also, pull up in my notes here that I forgot to mention is that you may not want to buy from a dealership. You might buy from a used party, or you might buy used from a dealership or new, doesn't matter. But dealerships also, depending on where you are, tend to hold certain events throughout the year, like demo rides, or just like our local like Eurosport here, they do like a customer appreciation night. I think that's kind of
they do rides. I mean, throughout they host rides.
That's true. They do also host rides, but we've been to a few of their demo days and stuff. So if you are interested in a specific bike, but you're kind of like, well, I'm not really shopping for one. I just want to ride it. Keep an eye out at your local dealerships to see if they have any events going on. Yeah. Because maybe they have like a demo event of your favorite bike, or maybe they have a demo model that you can just take out for a spin because maybe it's something that you consider. Maybe it's a whole different type of bike that you've never ridden before and you wanted to try. So dealerships definitely have a lot of benefits when it comes to selling the bike, but also like the support and kind of, helping kind of like have a certain contact if something goes wrong.
Well, we've met a bunch of people too through the 100%, dealership. It's like we're like, there is like more of a sense of community through a motorcycle dealership, but that's not going to be every dealership.
No, it's not going to be every dealership, and it's definitely not going to be like in every location.
Yeah. And again, this is an outside look to. We're the outsiders kind of looking in,
Yeah, exactly.
I do think we're pretty fortunate. And this is not an ad for anything by means, but I just think like Harrison's treated us well, or Eurosports Utah has treated us well.
They have treated us well. The only gripe I have, not with Eurosports Utah, this is just in general, is that
the industry,
no, not the industry, just the area here in Utah, is that they're the only Triumph dealer and the only like, they're the only Triumph dealer and the only like. I don't know if they're the only authorized Triumph mechanic, but
no, they're not. You can get work done,
but like they're the biggest one, and so if you want to get something done there, you're going to be expecting a long wait time because they're the only one around, and that's what kind of ties back into the beginning of the topic we were talking about dealership networks and availability, and certain brands being harder to fit into a dealership or a mechanic than others. It's you run into that. Like that's the only Triumph dealer. That's the only place you can kind of go and buy one brand new if you wanted to. Yeah. Well, we have like a billion like Honda dealers and KTMs and things all up and down the front here.
I wonder if we could pop into like some other like dealership if we would ever find like a new Triumph. Because dealers do they need a rep? I don't even see. We didn't even ask that.
Well, I think there's a difference between like, I think it has to be an authorized dealer, so it has to be someone that Triumph authorized
send
to
a rep
like
to, and
like yes, this dealer like works on our behalf or is like authorized to sell our bikes and is informed about them and knows the warranty and kind of like all that stuff versus just like somehow we have this brand new bike that we don't even sell. Like that's not even listed on any brand merchandise or anything like that. There.
Yeah, it could be.
I think it's going to be one of those cases, but I don't think we'll find any new Triumphs anywhere other than the dealer where we bought ours from.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like the final point I wanted to make is that.
Well, it just ties back to the whole network thing.
Yep, exactly.
Like, you know what you're going to be, what you can expect to have to deal with.
Search your local network or the area where you live to see what dealerships are available and how like the wait times are and things like that for them.
Yeah, but it's again, like that shouldn't deter you from buying what you want. If you love something for your reasons, like go for it.
And at least here in the States, motorcycles are not the primary means of transportation for most people.
They're recreational.
They're recreational. They're toys. They're for fun. So buy whatever brings you the most
have fun
joy.
With your toy.
Yeah, and just know that you'll have to maintain it. You have to take it into a dealer or a mechanic at one point or another for one thing or another, unless you're like super mechanically inclined or have plenty of time in your hands, which I'm too lazy to do that.
It's like motorcycling is going to make me a millionaire, but that's because I only used to be a billionaire.
Yeah. I still wish I was a millionaire.
Yes.
I never was.
I'm not.
For clarification, I was not. I just wish I was currently.
I just know that
so I can buy more bikes.
Yeah. It's like I'm not a millionaire by any stretch, but like I'm just, like I've noticed, as I progress through like my own career stuff, hopefully this can become the career, but
if you buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/tdtmotorcycles.
I was just gonna say it's like I've progressed through as I get older through career wise and everything like that. It's like, but ever since I got into motorcycling, I have less money.
I know, it's because you always want more stuff for it or a new bike.
Or new
gear, new bike, random things.
Guys, I bought a pair of ADV boots when I already had a perfectly good pair. To be fair, it was a good deal.
Very good deal.
I'm like, but I have so many riding like jackets.
Oh my God,
and pants.
Same.
And
I keep wanting more because I keep seeing ones. I'm just like, that might be better than what I currently have. Yeah, so I want to buy it. Just all the things like that. And speaking of buying stuff, if you want to help support this podcast, we are Revzilla affiliates. So the link is in the description below and in the podcast description. So if you are shopping for motorcycle gear, if you're brand new to riding and want to buy your first set of gear, or if you're just upgrading, feel free to use our affiliate link. We get a little bit of a kickback from every purchase you make. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us out. And
keep in mind that Black Friday, Cyber Monday will be coming up shortly. If you do want to buy something and to support us, that's just going to help a ton.
Help us out a lot. So keep that in mind when you're shopping around, and use our link below. So I think that's a wrap for this episode.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was like we don't have like anything to really drive home anymore. Just
nope.
Just share with you our opinions, and
just the fact that Mitch is going to hate the next 4 months because he was not going to be able to ride.
Yeah, I'll probably be a little grumpy.
Yeah, he's going to have to deal with my.
Should I go back into to watch our old episodes to see if how my mood is like during those months on the show?
He's gonna have to put up with my happy ass winter attitude for some reason.
But yeah, guys, please be sure to follow us. Again, this is pretty much the 1 year. So
pretty much, and
it's been amazing.
We have some big, kind of bigger plans.
We got some plans.
We got some fun episodes planned in the future that we want to try and do hopefully in the next few months here. So tell your friends, follow and subscribe, and
let us cook
all the other stuff. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Also, it was really nice not being by myself again.
Bye guys.
Bye guys.